please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. This is Power Breakfast that you're watching on CNBC TV 18. Back home yesterday on Dalal Street, the market ended near the high point of the day. In fact, high point of the series, with the Nifty breaching the 10,800 mark on the upside. Sensex too rallied about 300 points. The mid-caps, they outperformed majorly. And all the major indices, they ended with a gain of almost about 1.5%, closely followed by the Nifty Bank that ended close to 1% in the green. The indications are the open should be good. So all the cues that are stacked up this morning, Anisha tells us. Anisha, morning.
Morning, Maglam. Well, yes, as you mentioned, the markets actually closed near to the high point of the day yesterday. The Nifty was able to hold its head above the 10,850 mark, above the key levels as well. Mid-caps and banks, as you mentioned, slightly outperformed, with the mid-cap index being up around 1.6%. If you look at the cash volume data, the FIIs continue to sell in the market. So the FIIs sold around 570 crores in the cash equity markets yesterday, while the DIIs, they tried to pump in money. Yesterday, they pumped in around 740 crores. So it was a net buy figure when it comes to the institutional cash market. If you're watching out for cues for today, well, as you mentioned, the global cues are actually positive. The US markets ended in the green, the Dow up around 320 points, S&P as well as Nasdaq up around 0.9%. The trade war concerns are actually dissipating a bit after the tariffs that we saw got implemented last week. We are seeing a bit of dissipation of the trade war concerns, and all eyes are now on the earnings, because remember, the US earnings season also starts this week. The bank and the technology sector did well in trade yesterday for the US markets. So stock like JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, as well as technology stocks like Amazon, Netflix, all did rally in trade yesterday, pulling the markets higher. Other than that, President Donald Trump just minutes ago actually announced a nominee for Associate Justice of Supreme Court as well, and he's named Brett Kavanaugh for that. He's considered to be ideological conservative, so let's see how the markets react to that. But other than that, he also talked about how Kim Jong-un will honor the contract they have signed. There is some pressure from the Chinese, he believes, so that might play out on the minds a bit later in the day. But as of now, we are seeing a positive close. Remember, also the US markets ended in the green because they were reacting to the unemployment and the jobs report data that we got on Friday. We already reacted to that a bit positively in our trade. So the US markets actually reacting to that in the overnight session. The European indices also ended in the green. Now, there were some political concerns in Germany as well as Britain, but nonetheless, the markets there ended in the green, with FTSE outperforming with a gain of around 0.9%. Asia is trading in the positive as we speak. Let's pull out the other Asian indices. When we started off the show, all of them were trading in the green. Let's see how Nikkei, Shanghai, as well as Hang Seng are doing. So Hang Seng up around 190 points. Nikkei trading with a gain of around 200 points. Shanghai pretty much flat with a gain of just around 0.15%. SGX Nifty for starters was suggesting that we will start at around 10,900 level. But the important domestic cue, Mangalam, to watch out for today is definitely earnings. The big boy TCS comes out with numbers, and so does IndusInd Bank. So we'll watch out how the cues stack up with that.
All right, absolutely. You spoke about a couple of earnings that will be on top of people's mind, but what are the other stocks they'll be watching out for?
Well, yes, so of course, TCS, IndusInd Bank, because they come out with numbers. TCS will report numbers post-market hours, but remember, there's little room for disappointment because the stock has already rallied 40%. Yesterday, it was a bit down about on trade, 1.5% lower. Let's see how it reacts today. Other than that, Dish TV actually came out with numbers, and they look good. Now, on a quarter-on-quarter basis, the revenue jumped around 8%. The margins have also expanded. If you look at the subscription revenue, that's up around 8%, and the ARPU number has come at 214 versus an estimate of around 200 rupees. So that should be taken positively. Pharma stocks will be in focus because President Donald Trump has decided to tweet again, and he's talking about the companies, they're raising the drug prices in the US for no reason, and they're saying that they are going to take action and respond to that. So let's see whether the Indian markets and the Indian pharmaceutical companies react to that. Other than that, we learned from sources that Idea Vodafone has got actually a conditional approval for the merger, so that should be a positive news there. Vedanta, well, the IT department there has sold off Ken's shareholding, and they have realized around $216 million from that shareholding, but they still retain, Ken still retains around 3% in Vedanta. So let's see how that one reacts to that particular bit of news. HCL Technologies is in focus because after TCS, they are looking to do a buyback as well. They have a board meeting on July 12th to discuss the same. IDFC Bank will be in focus because the promoter company has actually bought 2% from the open market over the last few weeks in 7 days. So now the current holding stands at 54.8. Shriram Transport was in focus yesterday on account of some reports. Now they have come out and clarified to the exchanges that there's no merger proposal that they're discussing as of now. SRF was in focus yesterday as well, and today yesterday we understand that they are looking to set up a new plant in Thailand with a cost of around 410 crores. So that will be in focus. Some positive news for the likes of Gayatri, PNC as well as Sadbhav Infra, because a couple of them have bagged orders and have declared lowest bidder, while Sadbhav has seen tone collection of around 14%. There is some acquisition news on Astral Poly, so that will react positively. Some restructuring at the board level for Wonderla Holidays, where Arun Chittapalli has decided to take a sabbatical, so that might see a bit of dampener there. And lastly, TV18 Broadcasting, there as well some board changes, wherein the appointment of Ms. Jyoti Deshpande as non-executive director has been approved, and Mr. Rahul Joshi actually takes over as the MD.
On to a big headline from the telecom space now. The telecom department has approved the merger of Vodafone India as well as Idea Cellular. However, sources say the nod for this $28 billion deal to create the country's largest mobile services operator has come with certain riders. What are those certain riders? Well, Nisha Podar joins us with the details. Nisha, morning.
Good morning, Manglam. Of course, the DOT approval comes with some riders. It is conditional in nature. So what the Department of Telecommunication has said is that Idea and Vodafone can go ahead with the planned merger, which was announced over a year back. But Idea is asked to give a bank guarantee of over 3,300 crore rupees for one-time spectrum charge, and Vodafone India has been asked to pay over 3,900 crore rupees in cash for liberalizing the non-auction spectrum. Now, Idea and Vodafone will have to make these payments and give these guarantees for DOT to give them the final approval for the merger of the two companies to fight the tough competition coming in the telecom space. Remember, this merger creates the largest telecom company in the country. So yes, a big hurdle has been crossed, but we'll have to see whether or not this particular charge that has been claimed by DOT is really questioned or even goes to court, or is it settled and both the companies are ready to give these amounts. So we'll have to see that.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Nisha, for joining us with all the updates. We will watch out for this story as this develops. But let's move on to an exclusive where sources tell CNBC TV18 that depleting coal stocks at power plants have actually pushed the electricity regulator to consider imports of coal. According to an update on the 5th of July, 13 power plants, they were left with less than a week's worth of stock available with them. The Central Electricity Authority, they've sought details from the power plants and will use this information now to maintain normative stock, which amounts to about 35.5 metric tons. The projected coal demand during FY19 is 615 metric tons. According to the electricity regulator, the coal stock at power plants dropped to 15.3 metric tons in July, which may last only for 9 days. With that, let's move on to another CNBC TV18 exclusive now. It's been almost a month and a half since the Godrej Group moved the Bombay High Court against the acquisition of its land in Mumbai's Vikhroli for the bullet train project. Now, sources from Railways tell us that the government is looking for an out-of-court settlement in this case. Ashpreet Sethi filed this report earlier.
After farmers who have been up in the arms in Gujarat and in Maharashtra, it's the Godrej Group that has taken the legal route to protest against the land acquisition for the ambitious Ahmedabad-Mumbai bound bullet train project. Now, the government is fighting 6 cases in 2 courts, Bombay and Gujarat High Courts. Let us look at the case before the Bombay High Court right now. That was filed by Godrej Group on May 21st, where an urgent mentioning was made. And the High Court gave an interim order that any action taken regarding this land in question will be subject to court orders. Railways came back to the court on June 19 and informed that Godrej may be looking at giving an alternate land. However, sources at the Railway Ministry tell me at this point of time that an out-of-court settlement is being explored regarding the same land, and any change in existing alignment will lead to higher costs and even delay. Now, the case will be heard on July 31st. The other 5 cases have been filed in Gujarat High Court by Surat-based farmers who are alleging that state is trying to take the land away without any social impact assessment in the name of national interest. Now, these cases will be heard on July 10th. However, it remains to be seen if the government will be able to get past these legal hurdles and stick to its 2022 deadline, as this 508-kilometer project has been facing protests from farmers across Maharashtra and Gujarat from day one.
Big earnings expected today. IT major TCS, which holds about 5% weight on the Nifty, reports its first quarter numbers today. Reema Tendulkar joins in with expectations. Morning, Reema.
Well, TCS has clearly been the leadership stock. It hit $100 billion by way of market capitalization in the quarter gone by. Strong Q4 optimistic commentary from the management as well as the currency tailwind. All that has helped the stock rally nearly 40% in 2018. Well, on to the June quarter. Is a seasonally strong quarter, so we are expecting a dollar revenue growth of about 1.8% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. In constant currency, growth is likely to be closer to 3.5%, aided by the ramp-up of deal wins in the second half of FY18. The dollar has strengthened against most of the currencies, so that will create a cross-currency headwind. So for TCS, it's expected to be about 150 to 170 basis points. But on account of the dollar strength, the rupee has also seen a depreciation, and that will aid at the margin level. So we're working with a margin decline of 100 basis points on a quarter-on-quarter basis. That's on account of a wage hike and a visa cost. But it will be partly offset on account of the rupee depreciation. So if it wasn't for the rupee depreciation, the decline in their margins would have been closer to 200 basis points. The key to watch for will be an improvement in their banking and financial services vertical. So all verticals except BFSI is expected to report a good growth. For BFSI, the management hinted at optimism, but they said the true picture will only be clearer by June. So that's where the focus is going to be on. That apart, the street will watch about the company's comfort with its previously cited margin guidance of 26 to 28%. Will they look to reinvest the gains on account of the rupee depreciation, or will it be passed on to its clients? So commentary on rupee depreciation and margins will be closely tracked. And the ramp-up of large deal wins has been, the pace of ramp-up of their large deal wins will also be tracked very closely. But most importantly, it will be BFSI, because that is critical to the company achieving a constant currency growth of close to about 10% for FY19.
Absolutely, Reema, and the stock at a record high. This will be very important to watch. And remember, you can catch the management brief, the press, on the company's first quarter performance today at 5 p.m. only on CNBC TV 18, your earnings destination. All right, the world's largest cell phone factory is now open in India, in Noida actually. Samsung's new factory open for business. Prime Minister Modi and South Korea's President Moon Jae-in took a train ride to Noida to inaugurate this plant of Samsung. Remember, the factory has a capacity to manufacture 10 million phones every month. Megha Vishwanath reports on the highlights from this mega event.
Samsung Electronics inaugurated what it claims to be the world's largest mobile factory in Noida in Uttar Pradesh. The company cut the ribbon along with PM Modi, the President of South Korea and CM of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath. Now remember that Samsung has been manufacturing in India since 2007, but last year the company signed an MOU with the government of Uttar Pradesh to expand operations in this facility. What it means is that they announced that they will invest 4,915 crore rupees to expand operations at this unit. So this is not a brand new unit, they've just expanded operations. What does it translate to in terms of numbers? Well, currently the capacity of this unit is that it produces 68 million smartphones per year, but by 2020 the company claims that they will be able to double its capacity and manufacture 120 million units by 2020. Of course, this will be a phased growth. Overall, remember that while this is working very well for the Make in India mission and it's luring more manufacturers in India, but Samsung also has a lot that it can take away from especially the Indian market. Just to give you some perspective, India has a total of 400 million smartphone users and we're a total of 1.3 billion people. So there is a lot of untapped potential that companies like Samsung and many other hardware makers are looking to ride on. According to a report by IDC, just last year, that is in 2017, India touched the smartphone shipment number to 124 million units. So by 2020, if this this manufacturing facility can produce 120 million smartphones just alone in this one plant. That means this facility can take care of a large part of India's needs in terms of smartphones. Recently, Samsung's also become the largest manufacturer or the smartphone vendor in India, beating Xiaomi that listed recently. So overall, there is a lot going on for Samsung, and setting up a facility like this or investing in one was the next obvious step. So it's a win-win for everybody, the government, the Samsung as a company, and of course the consumers who will benefit from locally made in India smartphones.